So I've been using the iPhone 15 Pro for the past couple of weeks, and to put it simply, it's really good, and I've been enjoying it so far. It's actually kind of boring. Now, if you know me, you know that I've become one of the biggest fans of the iPhone mini, and I recently swapped back to the Pro Max, but this time around, I wanted to give the regular Pro a shot, so here's what that's been like so far. The size has been an excellent middle ground between the Mini and the Pro Max, a sweet spot some might call it. The new titanium frame is nice, the phone is now 0.67 ounces lighter, and it's also softer and smoother to the touch, and they rounded off the edges of the frame, making it feel significantly less sharp. It's a very comfortable phone to hang on to now. I like the change, but there was something to that stainless steel and those sharper edges that made the 14 Pros look and feel more premium. I don't know, maybe it's just me. I went with the white titanium, mainly because the natural titanium wasn't available at the time, but honestly, this colorway is so clean, I think it looks great, and it's arguably the best color. Maybe that's just copium because I don't have the natural titanium. And yeah, it does get smudged up, but that's to be expected. This brighter color actually helps with that since fingerprints and smudges and scratches are way more noticeable on the darker color iPhones. But either way, I just slap a case on it, especially when I'm out and about. Now, I don't know how many times I either whispered to myself or shouted from the mountaintops the word "finally" when plugging the phone in to charge. Putting the "how we got here" aside, thank you EU, I'm just glad iPhones have USB-C now. Not once did I accidentally try plugging in a lightning cable. It was natural for me from the jump. It's so nice being able to carry around one cable for all of my devices. And now you can plug the phone into a monitor. You can use it as a power bank to charge your earbuds or a friend's phone. It's easier to use external SSDs and SD cards now, and data transfer speeds are faster thanks to this USB 3.2 port, which is a 15 Pro exclusive, unfortunately, but either way, it's great. It'll be an adjustment for some users for sure, but it's well worth it. This action button has been pretty cool, and like Dynamic Island, I think it's only going to get better over time. This is one of the things the Pros get and the base models don't, for now anyway. You can set it to open or trigger just about anything you want using this new menu here, which is an interesting design because it doesn't really look like anything Apple would make. Maybe they're hinting at an iOS facelift? But by default, it's set to silent mode. I like this, I do. I think it's a good change. I got used to it almost right away, and a lot of people have gotten really creative with it using Siri shortcuts. Now, I haven't gone down this rabbit hole just yet, but I would like to see more functionality. I'm sure this is coming in the future, but in addition to the half-second long press, I think it would be cool to have the options for a single and a double press. I'd love to be able to open up the camera with a double press like you're able to do with the power button on Android phones, while keeping that half-second long press set to Do Not Disturb or flashlight, and a single press set to silent mode, something like that. Having a dedicated action button that's locked to just one function at a time is kind of sad. But like I said, I'm sure we'll see this added at some point. For now, since I'm boring, I just keep it set to silent mode. The 6.1-inch display is nice. It's roughly the same as last year's, but the bezels are a tad thinner, not as thin as rumors suggested, but thinner enough to push the screen-to-body ratio from 87% to 88.2%. Do with that what you will. Overall performance is as good as ever. I've not done anything that would really push this new A17 Pro chip to its limits yet, and I'm not too sure I ever will. Getting through basic everyday tasks feels about the same, but it's got a number of things going on behind the scenes that make for an improved user experience, and it's cool to see these processors get increasingly more capable. Apple was really proud to announce hardware-accelerated ray tracing, and that iPhone-specific versions of a couple AAA gaming titles will be released. So this is big news for the hardcore This is big news for the hardcore mobile gamers out there, and it's pretty crazy seeing the ceiling of a device this small getting pushed to new heights. Now, depending on how things are handled moving forward, this could be a game changer for mobile gaming, pun somewhat intended. When it comes to the whole overheating thing, a lot of users didn't experience this and a lot of users did. Early on, I experienced a couple random scenarios where my phone got extremely warm, even hot to the touch, simply while scrolling through Twitter. But just recently, as of this video, Apple pushed out an update that was supposed to help fix this issue. Overall, I feel like it did help a good amount. The phone still gets a little warm, it's not as bad as it was before, which is good, and honestly, I don't think this should be a concern if you're looking into getting this phone. It's been pretty normal. As for battery life, I wanted to give it some time to see how results would level out. And so far, it's not bad, but it's not great either. It's decent. It kind of falls in line with what the 14 Pro provided. For me though, it leaves a lot to be desired, especially for a $1,000 phone. I find myself charging more often and earlier in the day than I do with most phones I use, and I have to be more alert to how much juice the phone has left, especially when I'm not at home. In my experience so far, the battery has been good enough for a little over 5 hours of screen on time on average with mixed usage. I usually end up plugging in right around dinner time, so well before I head to bed. On days with much lighter usage, I'll have 5 to 8% left by the time I head to bed. Again, not horrible, but not excellent either. I could probably change some settings to help alleviate some of the drain, so I may look into that. But with the 14 Pro facing the same drawback, and with the 15 Pro having such a small battery, it's a tough sell for me, seeing as how this is a phone with the name Pro that starts at $1,000. Battery life should be better. Period, point blank. I know these are completely different phones, but let's be real. I shouldn't be getting the same or only slightly better battery life with this phone than I do with my 2-year-old 13 mini. It should be significantly better. Now, your mileage may vary. If your experience with this phone is different, that's fine. I'm not gonna sit here and invalidate your experience and tell you you're wrong, but this is my experience with the battery, and it's not as good as I, 1, want it to be, and 2, know it could be. This, along with charging speeds, are areas I feel should really be improved and prioritized moving forward. It still takes over an hour and a half to charge the phone from 0 to 100%. Okay, so before I get to the cameras, I wanted to quickly point out something I found pretty funny during my review period. This is such an odd and specific scenario. One day I was playing NBA 2K24. I was doing a rebuild of the 2011 Chicago Bulls, and I came across the height of former NBA player OJ Mayo. In game, he was listed at 6'1". I knew that was incorrect, and just to make sure, I asked Siri. And well, how tall is OJ Mayo?
OJ Simpson is 6 feet 1 inch.
I posted this on Twitter and I had all kinds of replies telling me this was fake, it's just engagement bait, this shouldn't matter because who even is OJ Mayo anyway, all that stuff. But no, it was real. This bug or whatever is gone from me now, but this, along with a number of other Siri blunders, made me wish Apple would just update Siri already. It is seriously overdue. I wrote that and didn't even realize until now. Here's another thing you can plug directly into the iPhone. These are XR glasses by Viture, and when connected to your iPhone, they provide a pixel-free 120-inch virtual display at 1080p and 55 ppd. Now, of course, the first thing I thought of was using these to watch movies and TV shows on all the different streaming apps, and yeah, these are great for just that. And it's accompanied by high-quality audio in partnership with Harman, which is a first for any XR glasses, and they engineered this with full privacy in mind. You can also use their Spacewalker app to get a multi-screen workstation with a web browser, a document viewer, shortcuts to YouTube, Google Drive, and more. You can also use it for 360 video in VR. In here, you'll actually use your phone to control the interface with swipes, taps, and gestures. It's really cool. The glasses have brightness, volume, and mode controls, and there's actually a feature that keeps the screen in place as you turn your head. The user experience is very well thought out with things like nose pads and myopia dialers, and electrochromic film, all in an effort to get you the best, most immersive, and most comfortable fit and viewing experience. With the iPhone 15, you're not going to need any adapters. Just plug in and you're ready to go. They've also got previous gen iPhone users covered with their HDMI lightning adapter, which, by the way, has charging pass-through, so you can keep your phone juiced up while using the XR glasses. Viture One is now available on Amazon, and you can get them in less than 2 days with a free 30-day return window. Check out the link below and use code VITURE10 to save 10%. Huge thanks to Viture for supporting the channel and sponsoring this portion of today's video. Alright, let's talk about the cameras for a bit. They're good. Very good, and you should expect nothing less. In most scenarios and conditions, these cameras push out nice looking results. Sharp, detailed, with good dynamic range. The regular Pro doesn't have that 5x telephoto the Pro Max has. It still has the 3x telephoto, but to me, that's not a huge deal. It really boils down to personal preference, and if you see yourself using that 5x telephoto a ton. Now, I'm still not the biggest fan of Apple's image processing, so I mostly shoot in Pro RAW and edit my photos, which works great. Overall, dynamic range seems seems to have gotten better. Low light results still aren't the best out there, but they get the job done. There's still some noticeable struggle with lens flares, and some shots still come out looking a little dull. Switching lenses is as smooth as ever, and consistency in color between the lenses remains good too. I think it's safe to say that this camera system is better than last year's, but by how much, I guess, is the question. Honestly, you're gonna have to dig deep and compare side by side and punch in to see noticeable differences. You may or may not be able to tell which shot was taken with the 15 Pro and which one with the 14 Pro Max. Now when I zoom in here, you might be able to tell. It's interesting because there's actually a lot of new stuff, a lot of tech mumbo jumbo going on in the background to produce a higher quality image, because it's technically producing a higher resolution result at 24 megapixels instead of 12. But at face value, you're probably not going to notice a huge difference from what we got last year. Now that's up to you whether or not that's a bad thing. We've got some new sort of focal length crop presets when hitting the 1x button, 24, 28, and 35 millimeters, and results at these zoom lengths are also a tad better than last year's. Automatic portraits are cool too. Basically, the camera will detect a subject and automatically collect depth information so that you can adjust blur after you've already snapped the photo. Essentially, it's turning a non-portrait photo into a portrait photo in post. We've seen something like this on the Pixel before, but it's nice to have it here too, and it works well. I'd say the biggest, most noticeable change comes from the video side of things. Regular video capture looks great as always with impressive stabilization, but now 15 Pros can shoot log footage. That's this flat profile here that provides maximum dynamic range, giving you more control over the final product with color grading. Now I've not tested this fully just yet, but you can quickly see why this takes things to the next level for pros and content creators. You can also record video directly to an external SSD, which is awesome. Finally, something that helps this phone live up to its pro name. It's not the first phone to sport log, but man does it look good when graded. Oh, and by the way, I'm really gonna need Apple to make it so that you don't have to go into the settings app to change camera settings. They should all just be in the camera app. At the very least, give us a shortcut to the camera settings in the settings app. We shouldn't have to dig and dig and dig just to find and enable a basic setting. Anyway, I like the iPhone 15 Pro. It's not my favorite, but it's a very nice phone. If the battery life was better, this might have been my long-term iPhone carry. Or maybe I'll just get used to it, who knows, we'll see. It's an excellent size, it's fast and powerful with quality hardware and great cameras. And this is the furthest apart the Pro has been from the base models in terms of power and features thus far. Whether or not that's worth it is entirely up to you. Personally, I really would have liked to have seen things like battery life, charging speeds, camera setting accessibility, Siri, and other things get prioritized over ray tracing and GPU gains for video games. Not that those are bad changes or anything, but I think you get my point. Depending on what kind of user you are, you could look at the entire rundown of this phone and perhaps find something or some things that'll make this a worthy upgrade for you from whatever phone you're currently using. Not everyone will light up at being able to shoot log footage. Not everyone will care about Titanium, the new processor, or even the action button. It's funny because the thing that pretty much everyone will have something to say about, the thing that will perhaps have the biggest impact on most users, is USB-C, the change Apple didn't actually want to make. At the end of the day, it's an iPhone. Because the iPhone's been around for so long, it hit its stride a while ago and has since been getting smaller updates year after year. So while the tech nerds may be upset at the lack of innovation, calling the phone boring like I did at the beginning of the video, that's kind of the point, at least to Apple it is. It's the best selling phone for a reason. And yeah, you could say it is kind of boring in a nutshell, but I do feel that when you add up these incremental updates together, the net effect is better than some people give it credit for. If you made it to this point of the video, you are awesome and I appreciate you. Drop a potato emoji if you're part of the potato gang. It's been Zach, and thank you so much for watching.